ladies and gentlemen, it is debate night in America. Former President Donald J. Trump is set to square off against current Vice President Kamala Harris. We'll have the live play-by-play commentary for you in just a moment. Coming up on episode number 83 of Up to Speed with Trip Simpson.
The following program is rated TV MAL. It contains strong language and is intended only for mature audience.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Art. A to the RT. So many niggas want beef, go to Arby's. Not too many rappers in this game that can stop me feeling cocky. Cause my flow hella stocky. Yeah, and I does this shit. Flow sick, something like when your two cousins kiss. Ill. And y'all niggas know who run this shit. They out of breath. Tell the coach I need 100 bricks. Let me cook them in the oven quick. Take them out when these percussions kick. Yeah, and it was never really a discussion, kids. Trade you to another team like the Russians did. Whoa, what the bitches that be sucking dick? Hit me up, you know I love that shit. Yeah. And it's all go when I touch that bitch. Pass it to me, watch me clutch that shit. Swish, swish.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for the second episode of Up to Speed with Trip Simpson. Today, I am your host, Trip Simpson, in the building.
The king in the north! The king in the north!
That's right. And before we get this live stream started tonight, first and foremost, you know we got to handle business. Let's get it.
Family moving up in the business. I know you're going to look after family.
What family you talking about, Ice?
Fuck, I look invisible, nigga.
That's right. I am not invisible, so do me a favor. If you are watching live on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that share button. If you are watching live on X or Twitter, hit that like button, hit that retweet button. Let's get it. And if you're watching live on Facebook, hit the like button, hit the share button. And remember, no matter what platform that you're watching on tonight, do me a favor, comment in the live stream below. Help us get this video off into the algorithm. Let's get it, people. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are about 9 minutes away from the first debate between Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump, my guy.
Look at my African American over here. Look at him. Are you the greatest? You know what I'm talking about?
And to be honest with you, I mean, it's no secret which side I'll be rolling with tonight. Now, I'm going to try to be as objective as I can. But you know, I'm rolling with Trump for sure. But this will be interesting. In my opinion, I think that this will be a pretty easy debate for former President Trump. Just look at how easily he walked over Biden. Look how easily he walked over all of the Republican candidates when he ran in 2016. I mean, for a guy who's not a career politician, he debates fairly easily. And when it comes to Kamala Harris, to be honest with you, I don't think she can pull this off. She's not very well versed on policy. I mean, she just came out with her policy yesterday, the day before the debate. So she probably doesn't even know her policy that well. And if Trump is on his A game, he can eat her up on everything that she's going to throw at him. All the things that she's proposing, like especially the stuff that she just came out with yesterday in her policy. All of those things have so many holes in them. You can shoot all that stuff down immediately. So this will be a very, very interesting debate. I look for Kamala to resort to trying to score points off emotional reactions. I think she's going to try to channel her inner black woman tonight. That'll be her best bet. She'll channel her inner black women so that she can have all the black women on social media quoting her little sassy sayings. That's her only chance. But when it comes to policy, I think she's going to get demolished. Because to be honest with you, she's just not very well versed on that. Okay? Now, we got about 9 minutes until the debate starts. So what I wanted to do real quick, I wanted to bring you guys attention to something that I might want to talk about later after we're done talking about the debate. Has anybody seen this situation with Diddy in his lawsuit for $100 million? Yeah. So apparently Diddy has to pay out a $100 million lawsuit. Now, before we get into the debate, I want to talk about that so we can kill a couple minutes and then we'll get back to Trump Harris. All right, so let's get to that real quick. Let's go. Let's get it. All right. So here we have it. Sean Diddy Combs ordered to pay $100 million to sexual assault accuser. A judge granted a default judgment against Sean Diddy Combs for $100 million Monday after the rapper failed to appear at a court hearing. $100 million. Combs was ordered to pay Derek Lee Cardello Smith, 51 years old, $100 million by Lenawee County Circuit Court Judge Anna Marie Anzalone. Fox News Digital confirmed. A court can grant a default judgment if a party fails to meet certain obligations within a specific time frame. Cardello Smith originally filed his lawsuit against Combs on June 10th. The Michigan inmate requested a temporary restraining order and the court granted his motion after Diddy failed to appear at the hearing on August 7th. Cardello Smith appeared at the court hearings virtually according to the docket. Diddy's legal team plans to fight the judgment to have the judgment dismissed. This man is convicted felon and sexual predator who has been sentenced to 14 counts of sexual assault and kidnapping over the last 26 years. Mark Angifalo, attorney for Combs, told Fox News Digital in a statement. His resume now includes committing a fraud on the court from prison, as Mr. Combs has never heard of him, let alone been served with any lawsuit. Mr. Combs looks forward to having this judgment swiftly dismissed. Cardello Smith accused Diddy of drugging and sexually assaulting him at a Detroit area party in 1997, according to court documents. He claimed to have met the I'll Be Missing You singer while working at a restaurant and hospitality employee in Detroit. Cardello Smith produced visitation records from the Detroit Times showing Diddy had visited the inmate. Cardello Smith alleges that the 54-year-old record producer offered him $2.3 million to dismiss the lawsuit. Wow. Wow. Diddy faces a mountain of legal claims after multiple women accused him of sexual assault beginning in November 2023. Cassie, legally known as Cassandra Ventura, alleged she endured over a decade of Diddy's violent behavior and disturbing demands in the lawsuit. All right, so, wow. That's kind of crazy, bro. That's kind of crazy. He offered him $2.3 million to settle. Now, I don't get that. If you don't know this man and you never met him, why are you offering him to settle? Now, granted, Diddy might just want to get it out the way because he sees a bunch of people trying to jump and prance on him at this point because they trying to kick him while he's down. But offering this guy $2.3 million doesn't really help your stance any. Doesn't really help you at all. And on the other hand, if Diddy doesn't know this guy, is this a sign of the times? Are the courts already stacked up against Diddy for this judge to grant this man $100 million just like that without any real evidence or proof? What does that say about the courts? Are they about to do Diddy in? Are they about to do Diddy in? We'll see. We'll see. But let's get to this debate. Let's see what we're looking like here. All right, hold on.
The stage after his tenure in the Oval Office.
Here we go.
He remains a figure of strength for many who believe in his vision for America's economic resurgence and national security. But tonight, another pressing question emerges. Is it true that tech mogul Elon Musk is funding Trump's campaign? If so, what does that mean for the race and the influence of corporate interests in our political landscape? Millions of Americans are asking these questions as they watch live, and tonight's debate is their chance to see both candidates address them directly. Expect sharp exchanges, passionate arguments, and heated moments as Kamala Harris and Donald Trump engage in one of the most critical debates of our time. This debate carries immense weight. The future direction of America could be shaped by what happens here tonight. With so much at stake, the nation watches with bated breath. Who will rise to the challenge? Will it be Kamala Harris, who speaks of a new era of progress and justice, or will Donald Trump's call for a return to power and prosperity prevail? Tonight, it's not just about policies, it's about leadership. It's about who can unite the country, who can rebuild trust, and who can deliver on their promises. And with millions watching across the nation, the pressure is higher than ever. The stakes couldn't be more significant. This isn't just a clash of personalities. This is a battle of visions for America's future. On one side, we have a vice president pushing for bold reform and social justice. On the other, a former president promising a return to greatness and security. The contrast couldn't be starker. And
all right, let me see if I can find another channel. I do not like that commentary. Hold on. See if I can find another channel with this debate. Now we'll go back there. Here we go.
Philadelphia, fencing and concrete barriers surround the
All right, let's try this. All right, we'll try this one. All right, should be on soon. So, real quick, just by show of the comments, who out there on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and Instagram, who do you guys have winning tonight? If you have Donald Trump winning, press the number 1. If you have Kamala Harris winning, press the number 2. I really like to know what you guys think. Me personally, I think that Donald Trump's going to run all over top of this woman. But we'll find that out in about 3 minutes. We will find that out in about 3 minutes. Just bear with me. Just wait for this thing to start. We got about 2 minutes left. Okay, Mr. Pratt says 1. I don't know. If I was a betting man, I would have guessed you would have said that. Shout out to Ep.84 on Instagram. He says 1. You know what time it is, sir. You know what time it is. Make America great again.
Look at my African American over here. Look at him. Are you the greatest? You know what I'm talking about?
And if you guys get a chance, after this stream, after we finish this live stream, go back and watch my stream from earlier today. It was a really interesting stream. We talked about the body cam footage from the young man who was killed by DC Metropolitan Police about a week and a half ago. It was a very good conversation. So go back and check that out if you guys get a chance. Like I said, right now, we're just gearing up for the debate. Should be starting in about 1 minute. So let's get it. Let's get it. Real quick, and before this starts, man, go and get yourself a nice beverage. Go get you a cold beer. Go get you a glass of whiskey. Go get you a couple shots of tequila. Coffee, tea, whatever your beverage of choice is, grab that shit, sit down. Let's watch this debate. We're going to go through this thing together. I'm not going to do a whole lot of talking during the debate, but here and there I'll pause and give a little commentary. But I definitely want to make sure we hear what both candidates have to say. I definitely want to do that. So yeah, this should be starting soon. Hasn't started yet on this channel. Let's see. Let me try another channel. Let me try something else. Maybe I'll just go directly to NBC.
That's something that folks will be watching carefully.
He's now, of course, the older candidate now.
Okay, we will be back with you. It's the top of the hour now, 9 o'clock on the East Coast here in New York and in Philadelphia, the room where it's about to happen. We're just seconds away now from tonight's first and perhaps last presidential debate between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump.
As we've noted, this will be the first time these candidates have met in person, and it's happening on a debate stage. Also, the first debate since President Biden left the race over the summer, and Harris became the Democratic nominee. A lot has happened in a very compressed period of time.
Yes, it has, and we have a few moments until the debate starts. We will join it. ABC News is broadcasting it, but we will simulcast it right here in its entirety. It's taking place at the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia.
And like June's debate, there will be no audience tonight. The candidates' microphones will be muted while the other one is talking. Each candidate will get 2 minutes for answers. There will be closing statements, but no opening statements. So we expect them to probably mix it up rather early in this as they stake out their positions and we get a sense of where all this is going.
And the mics are muted when the other is talking. So let's take you to Philadelphia now and the first presidential debate of 2024.
Let's go.
Good evening, I'm David Muir, and thank you for joining us for tonight's ABC News presidential debate. We want to welcome viewers watching on ABC and around the world tonight. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump are just moments away from taking the stage in this unprecedented race for president.
And I'm Lindsay Davis. Tonight's meeting could be the most consequential event of their campaigns, with Election Day now less than 2 months away. For Vice President Kamala Harris, this is her first debate since President Biden withdrew from the race on July 21st. Of course, that decision followed his debate against President Donald Trump in June. Since then, this race has taken on an entirely new dynamic.
And that brings us to the rules of tonight's debate. 90 minutes with 2 commercial breaks. No topics or questions have been shared with the campaigns. The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer questions, and this is the clock. That's what they'll be seeing. 2 minutes for rebuttals and 1 minute for follow-ups, clarifications, or responses. Their microphones will only be turned on when it's their turn to speak. No pre-written notes allowed. There is no audience here tonight in this hall at the National Constitution Center. This is an intimate setting for 2 candidates who have never met.
President Trump won the coin toss. He chose to deliver the final closing statement of the evening. Vice President Harris selected the podium to the right.
So let's now welcome the candidates to the stage. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump.
Go.
Kamala Harris. Let's have a good debate.
Nice to see you. Have fun.
Thank you.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their number one issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid. And I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine that.
Is she going to answer the question?
And have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because there was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that Xi and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but
notice Trump answered the question, Kamala did not.
I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression.
Well, that's because a virus came out of nowhere.
Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all, on this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name-calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected.
They still going with this Project 2025 shit, man.
Again, I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad. But it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounce back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually...
What is your plan, lady? No, the people haven't seen your plan.
...actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
That's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. Just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that it just, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response. And you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you...
It's crazy. She's criticizing him for the tariffs, but the current administration she's in hasn't ended any of the tariffs. You can't make this up, bro.
You respond.
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies.
She still didn't answer the question. Why didn't you guys end the tariffs?
Focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing. Focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point. when we know that she was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID?
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade last year.
Yo, Uptown 420 says you can tell she went to Howard. Oh.
You said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your...
Why is this even important? Who gives a damn about whether these people can delete their own kids? There's more pressing issues.
...position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, is doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. And now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies.
He never said it was legal. He said that they said it was okay. He never said it was legal. But see, they're trying to give you the sound bites here because they know most people don't have the attention span to actually watch this whole debate. He never said that it was legal. He said that they wanted to push for it to be legal.
And that's not actually...
And that's on record, so...
a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which...
These aren't Trump abortion bans. These are state abortion bans. What the Supreme Court did was the Supreme Court gave it back to the states. So the states could decide what they wanted to do with abortion and not let the federal government run over top of everybody. Some states don't want it. Some states do. And the ones that do, keep it. The ones that don't, get rid of it. That's it.
And what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral.
He literally just said rape, incest, and those things have an excuse.
And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came to your desk?
Well, I won't have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50, essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea. And how unfair that would have been, part of the reason they lost, to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D., and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. Well, wonderful. Let's go to Congress, do it. But the fact is that for years they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, I want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a...
I don't even know why this is important. Like the fact that they're going for 10 minutes about whether or not you can kill your own kids is insane to me. It's insane. There's more pressing issues besides your sexual mishaps and what you do about that. Use a rubber. Use birth control.
A pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments.
So what does that have to? You're talking about IVF, and he's talking. You go from abortion to IVF. This woman is crazy, bro.
What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs.
Close your legs then. Close your legs.
Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why
can't make this up, man.
In every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer the
problem.
question? Would you
because
veto?
Under Roe v. Wade,
answer the question. Would you veto?
You could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th month, and probably after birth. Just look at the governor, former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 15...
He about to flame her. He about to flame her ass on this one. Watch.
1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you.
Needs, dreams, and desires? Why does a president need to answer dreams and desires? This woman is batshit crazy, bro.
We deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here, you bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is the
people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
The people
I'm
on
taking it from the
television
city
saying
manager.
their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme. This is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the Republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job, I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people whose were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper. He was no good. I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book. Because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they. But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any president, sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military.
Police, yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country, and they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it. Because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in. And all over the world, crime is down. All over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But
excuse me, the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for.
You could do it now! This is the craziest part. She could do it right now. She could have done it over the past 3 years, and she hasn't. That's the craziest part about all of this.
Address what we must do to support our small businesses. Address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people
Vice President
to stop
Harris.
him.
Thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
Weaponized, please.
We
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a fake Russia investigation
we do have a lot
that went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking, because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother
in Canada
who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work, to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increased by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable.
Emotional moments, that's all she's doing. And it's brilliant what she's doing. She's basing everything on emotional moments and personal situations.
My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done. Protecting seniors from schemes have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name-calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up.
You just said that.
Intend to be that president.
President Trump, your response?
First of all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish one thing, so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out of it. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that
for
we
the
have to get
environment,
to.
as
We're
she
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar, remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America, they're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world, and crime rates are down all over the world because of it. But let me just when are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle? They went into Seattle, they took over a big percentage of...
Or the people who burnt down Washington, D.C. and broke into every CVS and stole all the drugs. For George Floyd. Let's go, man.
The city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
you. You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes, sir.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible.
That is a fact. It is in writing. He sent her that. He offered her the troops, and she denied him. He's not lying.
Responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say?
Oh my God.
There were fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the...
That has been debunked a million times, bro. He was not talking about the people carrying teachers. They do this shit every single time, bro. Every single time. And this shit is easily debunked.
Proud Boys, a militia. The president said, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, one Charlottesville. That story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this, you talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
That is a fact. That is a fact. That is a fact. You don't need to bring legislation through Congress to close the border. All he needs to do is sign an executive order, close the border. Boom. It's closed just like that, and they haven't done it. They're trying to blame it on him, but we'll get to that.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
we talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short. Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically.
that.
You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls, and we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No
Republican.
judge looked at it.
And said
They said we didn't have standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter, because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker, so he still believes
He didn't say that he didn't lose by a whisker. He said he was being sarcastic. You see how they play games. They stay trying to make this man out a liar, but they haven't tried. Kamala Harris lied at least 50 times a night. No one's calling her out on it.
Did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just tell you about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president, but when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is
I think we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to
I mean, she's married to an Israeli, so you know how this is going to go.
Protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis, many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters, because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear. They can
Putin literally endorsed Kamala Harris. What is she talking about?
manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones, and she's the one that caused it, that's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe?
For the slow people in the back, that is one of the most important statements of this entire debate. Why did you close down the XL pipeline, our domestic energy, and reopen Russia's domestic energy and then allow them to take over Ukraine? Why did you do that? But see, most people don't even know about global politics, so it's probably a lost cause, especially talking to some of our people.
Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the National Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
The ABC News presidential debate.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, streaming weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
We're back with tonight's debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump.
When it ends in just a few minutes, join us for an analysis of tonight's key moments. Our team will break down how it could shake up the final sprint to Election Day. For now, though, let's go back to the debate live in Philadelphia.
Live from the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Here again, David Muir and Lindsay Davis.
Welcome back to this historic ABC News presidential debate tonight. We're going to continue here, and I want to turn to the war in Ukraine. We're now 2.5 years into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? that. And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left, I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's... Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify...
Man, they keep stopping. They need to let Trump cook, bro. Let Trump cook.
They threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he a president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time is up. Just to clarify in the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here.
But you gave up the border. You gave up the border.
I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to define one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening. But he does have that, something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything.
You used me!
They said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him.
So she did meet Putin. Did you meet Putin? Blah, 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 blah. Yes or no? Did you meet Putin? When I did meet Putin, okay, so you met Putin.
Over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms.
Bro, what the hell is this hoe talking about, bro?
As a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy.
But what about the nukes? Looking out for our friends is fine. What about the nuclear weapons, you idiot? Jesus Christ. Man, let's just finish this shit out.
And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is Commander-in-Chief, and the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen, he's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying, one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's...
Do y'all hear what Trump is saying? Kamala Harris keeps trying to virtue signal the American people, and we're America, and we have to do this, and we have to. Trump's like, look, we're getting ripped off, and I stopped them from ripping us off. How do you people not see this? How do you not see this?
Ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill honoring the soldiers.
Juice Man Dad says she's washing him. How's she washing him? She's not saying anything. She's washing this nigga. What are you talking about, bro? How's she washing him? She's making things up and lying. Trump's telling you like it is. When it comes to NATO, bro, NATO's ripping us off. I told NATO, kiss my ass, pay up, or we're not going to protect you. To this day, as we speak, we protect NATO for free. The Russia-Ukraine war is a beef between Russia and NATO. All those countries in Europe that are threatened by the Russia-Ukraine war, it really doesn't have nothing to do with us. But we're paying the most money to Ukraine. That's what Donald Trump is saying. We're paying the most money to Ukraine, protecting NATO, and they're not paying shit. We're holding everything down for NATO, and the European countries who are most affected ain't doing a damn thing. And you talking about she's washing them? Bro, what's in the blunt, bro? What's in the blunt? Go ahead and call in, man. Y'all niggas getting me riled up with this nonsense. She's washing them. Are you serious?
Who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not, again, appreciate the role.
Let's take a pause here real quick. The president, the people who you just said endorsed you earlier, Dick Cheney, George Bush, all of those Republicans that you bragged about saying that they endorsed you, they all did the same thing as well. They all did the same thing. Why? Because the Taliban runs Afghanistan. Why the hell would I talk to a regular, weak politician in Afghanistan when they ain't running shit? Bring the people that run shit here and let's work something out. What are you talking about, man? You're embarrassing women.
And responsibility of the President of the United States to be Commander-in-Chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America.
Bro, she's not saying anything, bro. She's using buzzwords.
Around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, you know, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved, and Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did the worst withdrawal and, in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine.
I don't know how anybody in their right mind can say that Kamala Harris is washing him. He's telling you idiots the truth. The way that the Biden administration rolled out of Afghanistan was embarrassing. 13 troops killed. They left billions of dollars of equipment behind to the terrorists that she claims he dealt with. You left them a whole bunch of weapons. You empowered the terrorists. Everything's abandoned there. Biden them, skirted right out. And guess who came right in after that? China. Russia sees that and says, oh, it's sweet. Let's go. Let's get Ukraine. This is what Trump is saying. And Juice Man Dan talking about she's washing him? What the hell are you watching, bro? What are you watching?
Because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago.
Shout out to my man BC from the Bronx. He says it's almost 2025 and this cackling alcoholic is banking on debunked 2017 talking points. Facts, my nigga, facts.
When she happened to turn black and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something, I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm asking.
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black. And that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I guarantee you she's not going to admit that she's black. Watch. She's not going to admit it.
I think honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want.
Bitch, what's your race? What is your race? They asked you on ABC News a couple weeks ago. You didn't answer it. What's your race?
This kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was he owned land, he owned buildings. And
I always talk about this, the same two talking points. It's the company he was managing for his father's real estate agent. His father's real estate company, where it was already proven that he did nothing wrong in the Central Park 5, which has already been debunked. Every time they bring up the same shit. But they don't bring up the fact of the black men she locked up and tried to give 50 years and tried to put on death row that were ended up found innocent. Nobody brings that up.
He was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution
of the Central Park pervs. Who cares? Every time. Same 2 points. Every time, bro.
Of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5.
Them niggas was not innocent.
Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first Black president of the United States.
The hell with him.
And I think the American people want better than that. Want better than this. Want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly...
If I was Trump, I'd just straight up ask her, are you Black? Are you Black? I'd ask her straight up, are you Black?
Trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that
aspirations and dreams. Nobody gives a damn about your dreams. If I'm the president, I don't care about your dreams, bro. Dreams? Dreams. She's embarrassing women, I'm telling you.
Regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your 3rd time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad that she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up,
I
Lindsay.
want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country. One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism.
Facts. BC from the BX says she keeps painting a picture of how the president is supposed to be. B, where the hell is our current president? That is 100% absolute facts, my dog. Let's go.
About what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans.
Compare the plans then. They keep asking Trump all these dumbass questions. Trump ain't comparing. He's not asking the questions. They're asking him.
Plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction, to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work.
Where the hell is this money coming from? Where's this coming from? 50,000. Okay.
I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight. as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name-calling. Let's turn the page
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's
Trump,
turn
we
back to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy,
She has
please.
a plan to defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
she
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move on
to
to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
That's what her plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond because
Trump,
the
President
former
Trump.
president has said
No, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to respond
No,
to.
I'm sorry. We're
I
going
just need
to move
respond
on, Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this
multiple
is
times.
now your
Yes.
third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better.
Correct.
Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up, they wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain.
I love Trump, man. I love Trump. That's that nigga, bro.
I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just yesterday.
That's a great answer. See, that's not a political answer. That's not a politician's answer. That's the answer of a good leader. He said, do I let the bill rot, or do I try to improve it because I know it's not going anywhere? I know I'm up against a Congress and Senate that's not favorable to me. So instead of just letting this plan rot that's already law, I'm going to try to make it better. Great answer. Trump doesn't get enough credit for that.
No, you still do not have a plan.
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private health care options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being
emotional moments. She's looking for sound bites, bro. That's the only thing I can tell you that's brilliant about her strategy. She has really nothing of importance to say, but she is going to win the soundbite war because the media is already biased. She's shout out to Cutro Rod. He says she won't answer any questions. She's killing me. Bro, it's all about sound bites with her. The questions don't matter. This is a soundbite war. They're going to clip every little thing she said that sounds defiant and makes you look like a strong black woman, and they're gonna promote that to the American people. Because most of the American people, well, I ain't gonna say most of the American people, but a lot of the people we know don't have the attention span to even watch this shit. So they're not gonna see what actually happened.
You don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has...
What? This is communism, ladies and gentlemen. This is communism. America is still a meritocracy. You still have to earn what you get. If you don't earn anything, I'm sorry. Go out into the woods and try to figure out a potion. You earn what you get in America, bro. The point that we get where we're not earning what we get in America and everything's just handed out free, we're no better than any place else. We're just a nation of lazy people waiting on the government. And when you're waiting on the government, you give the government too much power. When the government's got you in the palm of their hand, that's when you know you lost. Shout out to DQ. He says, you can do it now. So have seniors, so we should have seniors struggle till November? Facts. That's what's crazy about everything she's saying right now. You could have been done it.
Has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
In terms of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a lot of...
She made a mistake. And number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We could do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get. People are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump.
That's a fact, bro. I'm not going to work hard and bust my ass so I can wait in line with the rest of you muckety mucks. If you want to be lazy and not work, take the government insurance. But don't come over here fucking with my good shit. Just like housing. I don't work hard and bust my ass to have to live next door to a nigga that's paying $58 a month. Hell no. Because you don't value your shit the same way I value my shit. I 100% agree with Trump. Everybody's not equal because everybody doesn't have the same work ethic. And if you don't have the same work ethic, you don't deserve what I have. And vice versa.
Thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with
oh my God, nonsense.
regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said the climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as Vice President over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been Vice President. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
It didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Skip real forward.
Time has come for closing statements, and Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us, and we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now.
Oh my God, all sound bites. This woman is desperate.
Right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans, and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they laugh. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And
so on that note, that is the end of the debate. I'm going to go ahead and bring in our first guest, Mr. King Khufu. Let's go. Let's get it. Hold on, let me fix the all right, boom. All right, hold on. Let me fix the audio real quick. We're good to go. All right, man. So Jesus Christ.
This debate is laughing stock, man. I don't know how she even, like, the biggest mic drop was basically his end. Like, you had 3 years to do this shit. Why haven't you done all the shit you're promising now? You had 3 years to do this shit. Why haven't you done it?
Bro, that's a hashtag. Why didn't she do it?
Right. Like, come on, man. Like,
why
you gotta be a blithering idiot to not see that shit, man.
Bro, I'm really disappointed in Juice Man Dad. I don't know where he ran off to. But this motherfucker talking about she's washing them. Bro, put whatever you smoking, man, put that shit down, bro.
Man, leave that shit alone, man.
Put that shit down, cuz.
And
open up your check your drawers to make sure your balls are there, nigga. What the fuck are you talking about? She's washing him,
bruh. Like, and she wants to go about policy. Like, she didn't drop not one policy or even solution to a policy problem. The whole entire thing. I'm like, yeah, what is your solution? Like, Trump's giving solutions. Like, even though, I mean, you know, he's giving it his own little word way, how he says it, but he's giving a solution to what the problem is. But then he harps back on to what she's done. But then she goes back and she still goes back on him, but she's just presenting a problem. Like, what is your solution, bitch? Like,
right. She doesn't have a solution. And the funny thing is, like, so first of all, my only criticism of Trump, right, through this whole thing is he's got to find a word other than millions and millions. That's my own, even though he's telling the truth, it is millions and millions.
Right.
But it's like, okay, you keep saying millions and millions, like, people are gonna try to, they're gonna the mainstream media is going to use that against you. But I mean, I guess at this point, who cares?
Yeah,
right?
You only got 4 months left, really.
I mean, but you know, I think at this point, you're gonna vote for who you're gonna vote for at this point. There's not really much convincing that I don't think this debate did any convincing on either side. I think whoever was going to vote for whoever coming into this debate is still going to vote for them.
That's true.
I don't think
however, like I said, for me, like I said, so if I was a voter and I was undecided, right? Like, say for instance, I just listened to the whole debate and I still can't decide throughout the whole debate, right? The very end of that debate would have made me decide who I should vote for. Because, like I said, for me, it's like, bitch, you're the incumbent in office now. Like, the shit you're like Trump said it. Go wake your boss up, gather everybody in the room, and sign the fucking document.
That was one of the greatest lines of the whole thing. And I'm just like, I don't understand how a nigga could be like, she getting my bad juice, man. I don't mean to harbor on that. But I just couldn't believe he said that. Like, are you watching this? When that nigga said, go wake him up.
Yeah. He was a former president, so you can't say, "Oh, you're lying, bitch." I was a former president. I know what the fuck I can do. You know what I mean? Like,
wake him up and tell him to sign the executive order. Close the border. Sign right here,
right now.
Boom. Do it right now. Like the whole thing when she tried to say, "Oh, well, you know, Trump called and got the bill squashed," whether he did or whether he didn't, right? Which is nonsense.
Right.
That's hearsay, right?
It is.
But and she's a lawyer; she should know about hearsay. But whether he did or whether he didn't. You're the president of the United States and the vice president of the United States.
Right.
You can, number one, on day one, they ended all of Trump's immigration policies. That's problem number one.
Every last one of them.
Problem number two, they instructed Border Patrol to stand down.
They did. It was on the news.
They can literally make an executive order and say, Border Patrol,
clamp down.
get back on your job. As a matter of fact, we finna hire 1 million niggas. We want to hire 1 million people to be on the border. 1 million is crazy, but what I'm saying is they could literally say, we want to hire 1 million people, come work for the Border Patrol, and we're going to put you on the border. They can literally do that.
They can deputize, like you said, deputize the law enforcement as Border Patrol, and they can enforce the border. I mean,
they can deputize the military as Border Patrol.
Exactly.
There's a lot of shit they could do. You don't need, see, the problem is they're dishonest. The reason why the Republicans shot that bill down, number one, there was more hundreds of billions of dollars for Ukraine.
Right, exactly.
More hundreds of billions of dollars for Israel.
Right.
There was more, there was some LGBTQ transgender shit. There was all type of crazy shit in that bill.
And I don't think that people understand what government does with laws. Like, just because you hear one law doesn't mean it's not coupled with a whole bunch of other laws.
That's why it's called a bill. It's itemized. It's a bunch of shit in that.
Exactly. A bill.
Like, why would we go for a bill with all of that dumb shit in there when you could literally sign an executive order and get the border closed today? Period.
Right. As we speak, really, literally right now, as we speak, you can sign the order right now.
So I mean, you know, I just found this like utterly ridiculous. Another thing she said, about when they were pressing Trump about abortion, right? Okay. Now, granted, Trump didn't answer the question, so I got to be objective.
He answered the question, but he answered it very, very succinctly.
He answered it, but look, when they say specifically, would you veto or sign an abortion ban? He didn't answer it.
He answered it. That's what I'm saying.
If you say yes or no, I'll say that.
I 100% guarantee he answered. I'm gonna explain after you go.
Hold on, real quick. Shout out to BC from the Bronx, BX. My nigga hit the super chat. Hold up. Thank you, sir. My man hit the super chat. He says, by vowing to make improvements to the country if you're president after still being in office, isn't that saying that you admitted to destroying the country? Facts. That's definitely admitted to that.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Definitely admitting to that.
That's a hella good point. Yeah.
Honestly, Trump could have just been quiet the whole time, and that point would have That point would have been made. He could have just let her talk the whole time and just had the last word, say, why isn't she doing this shit right now?
Yeah. He literally could have said that one phrase about the whole thing, really. That'd have been it.
Yeah, and yo, real quick, shout out to BC from the BX for the super chat, yo. Matter of fact, this might be the first super chat I've ever gotten, actually. So thank you, sir. Appreciate that, man. But yeah, man.
Oh, you about to say something about abortion?
No, go ahead. I'll let you.
So the abortion thing, right? When Trump answered the question, right? When he said, "Would you veto abortion?" Right? There's no need to even ask the question because he gave it back to the states. In other words, the people are voting on whether we should have abortion in the state or not.
He doesn't need to veto abortion.
It doesn't need. He does. It's not because it's not even on the federal level, so it's nothing he can veto, really.
Right.
Right. So it's the people that's voting for it. So if you don't want abortion in your state, don't vote for it. Right. So you can't really say that Trump did something bad about getting rid of Roe versus Wade. I mean, he gave it to you. He literally put the vote in your fucking hand.
Right, because like he said, it's been a situation, it's been a issue that's divided the country. Okay, so fine, right. We'll let it go to the states. The states will decide.
Right. Point blank.
But honestly though, I don't fault him for not answering the question because it's a loaded question. What's a national abortion ban?
And he also said that the abortion against federal, Roe versus Wade, abortion thing will allow abortions up to 7, 8, 9 months.
Right. So I wouldn't sign that either. I wouldn't sign anything. I mean, honestly, and really, Trump came out and said, "Okay, 6 weeks is too short."
Yeah.
Right. He says 6 weeks is too short. So I mean, it's not like he's better than me.
Right. He's better than me.
I'm a hypocrite because you already know, like I've had some wild times. Like some chicks have had abortions.
Yeah, I can take a day.
But I mean, at the same time, like it ain't about me, dog. We talking about 23 million people since 1973.
Exactly.
So
that's a lot of people.
It is what it is. Another thing, bro, the tax cuts that she claimed that she's going to give out when she becomes president. Again, why didn't you do that?
Why? You could have did that now. You know what I mean? Like,
I think the thing that people are missing, right, is that she is an incumbent, basically.
Right.
So as an incumbent, you're supposed to run on your record.
Exactly.
You're supposed to run on the things that you've already done, because literally by saying you're going to change things basically says you didn't do shit while you were in office.
Right.
It's like the ultimate oxymoron.
That's as if you're smart enough to catch that, though. I'm going to tell you, right? I'm going to tell you, I work, let's just say I work for the public sector, right? I'm going to tell you, unfortunately, I no disrespect, but most Americans' IQs are not that high. Unfortunately. Yeah. It is what it is. They're not. And they'll say something and they'll, as long as you make them feel good, they'll go for it. I'll just say that. And that's what she's doing. She's a whole bunch of talking points, but no solution to what the fuck you're talking about. And he'll rebut what she's saying, and he'll give his solutions and what she's done to make that happen. You know what I mean? Literally point out, this is what you did to make this happen, right? And he's saying, I'm going to do this to make this happen. And she goes back and like, dude, but you did. But I'm like, bitch, I'm not in office, bitch. You are.
You're in office.
Like, I'm like, come on, man. Like, what kind of debate is this at this point? You know,
this happened under your watch.
Under your fucking watch, the whole 3.5 years.
I feel so bad for Trump because he's up there trying to tell, like, bruh, all these people are coming in the country.
Right.
Trump's like, yo, what are we even talking about?
Man, like, come on, you let him in here, man. Like, come on, man.
Yo, shout out to DQ. He says she could have did it now and secured the vote. Facts.
Yeah.
Like Trump said, yo, go to your homeboy right now, wake him up, show him the bill, and be like, yo, sign this real quick. Executive order, real quick. Let's close the border, blah, blah, blah. She could do that.
Assuming he's alive. Assuming
he's alive. She could do that right now, bro. But she's not going to do it now, just like she's not going to do it if she becomes president.
Right.
It's all lies. There's nothing you can tell me about how you're going to improve the country right now while you're in office and it's not being done.
Like, come on, man.
To be honest with you, I don't even know what is the point of doing a debate when this is what we're talking about.
Bruh.
If you're going to come out and talk about what you can do to improve the country while you're actively in place to improve it,
right?
There's nothing to talk about.
And you're supposed to run off your previous accomplishments to make us want to vote for you again. And you haven't said nothing about what you previously did. Like, even when he brought up the border czar, right? Like, said you were acting border czar, and she's like, you don't want to claim it. Like, she didn't even harp on that because she knows she touched that, bitch, you're sunk.
Yeah, you're done. You're done. And then, another thing, she's bragging about Dick Cheney and Bush and all of them and McCain, even though he's dead and been dead for years.
Right.
You're siding with me. McCain's dead, bro.
Here's the thing about those people she cited. They all started the wars. They're
all warmongers. These are all the people who we wanted out of office when they were in there. Everybody hated these people.
Right.
And now you're bragging about them being on your side.
Right. And they're all, man, Jesus Christ. I don't understand it. I don't understand it, man. Like, and here's another thing, right? When she was saying she's fighting for the people, the victims and everything like that. She's fighting. I'm like, bitch, you put so many victims in prison in San Francisco. Like, what are you saying?
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure the people who are sitting at home watching this shit who were the victims of what she just put it.
She like Central Park 5 when there's literally a nigga on viral right now on the internet who's telling the story about how she tried to give this nigga 50 years when she knew he was innocent.
Damn.
She tried to give this nigga 50 years. Jamal Truelove. We talked about him on the show.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
She tried to give the nigga 50 years when she knew he was innocent.
Bruh.
Look,
like shit.
Trump said, yo, as far as the Central Park 5 goes, them niggas admitted to it. What do you want me to do?
And furthermore, he apologized for it.
Man, I wouldn't apologize. Them niggas is guilty, bro. I don't care. Them niggas is guilty. Niggas can argue with me all day. I got the proof. They're guilty.
Hey, I'm just saying he apologized for it. That's all I'm saying.
Whether you apologize, I wouldn't apologize for it. I wouldn't apologize for the shit. I mean, this shit's crazy. They're talking. Then she's talking about what she wants to do for the American people. The energy conversation is something that she ran away from too. Like, she didn't want to touch the fact that they killed the Keystone Pipeline, but reopen Nord Stream.
Right. That's when our gas prices and shit. Also, increased inflation.
You closed our independent source of energy and reopened our enemy's energy. You gave Russia the key to energy,
and which they used to attack Ukraine.
Oh my God! Like
the dots are there, right? You know what I'm saying? If people were smart enough and use critical thinking, the dots are there. Like, if you can't connect them, like, you just a blithering idiot. You shouldn't be voting. I'm sorry.
You see, Gam says, what makes me mad is that she said the late-term abortions don't happen, but they do.
They do.
15,000 per year. Also, he never said that babies are getting killed after they're born. He said Walls supports that. Facts.
Yes.
Facts. And I brought that up while she said it. It's basically all lies, but they're going to use all this shit as sound bites. They're all going to be sound bites the next day.
I hope they're fact checking this shit too.
They're not going to fact check the shit. They didn't fact check her the whole time. They kept trying to fact check him on the low, but they never fact checked her.
I mean, she didn't give no facts to begin with anyway. I didn't think about it. So
bro. Like
she gave no figures or nothing.
And the whole, I don't want to skew her off the energy thing. We'll get back to the abortion thing, but the whole energy thing is crazy to me, bro.
Yeah, her fracking. She was against fracking. She was
adamantly against fracking, but then when she got on to the Biden campaign, she had to retract it.
We're all for it now. Really? Like, really?
I mean, this broad is crazy, man. The whole January 6th conversation.
Then Afghanistan, how she left, the way she pulled out of Afghanistan, the whole shit was on the news and everything. Like, they fucked the whole thing up. Literally fucked the whole thing up.
Allegedly, she was the last person in the room when Biden made the decision.
Oh, and one more thing, right? So it was a question he asked, the dude, the anchor asked her, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? She didn't answer that question. She said, I was in a room with Zelensky, but bitch, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? She never answered that question.
She didn't answer it, but then she said, yes, I've met with Putin, blah, 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 blah.
See? Like, come on, man. Like,
yeah, actually, it was 5 times, but blah, 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 blah. Come on, bro.
Jesus Christ.
But I'm telling you, so you know what I'm not worried? I sometimes I have to get out of this bubble, right? Because I know the average black person, and you know they're gonna call me a coon for this, right? They're gonna call me a coon.
Coons. Well, raccoons trying to get on our back porch. Mama just chased them off with a broom.
Not raccoons, you idiot, niggas.
They're gonna call me a coon for this.
Niggas.
Bro, I forgot what I was gonna say, bro. That shit is so funny to me. I forgot what the fuck I was gonna say. I forgot why they was gonna call me a coon, bro.
Well, raccoons trying to get on our back porch. Mama just chased them off with a broom.
Not raccoons, you idiot niggas.
That shit is the funniest shit.
Hey, I love that movie. Niggas.
Oh my god, bro.
Hey, I'm gonna watch that shit tomorrow. You can watch.
Oh shit! Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say.
Oh, race. Here's one thing about race, right?
Oh yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Now go ahead, so you don't forget.
You go ahead.
Now I'm just gonna say he even said like he doesn't care. Like it doesn't matter. This shit doesn't matter whether you call yourself black. And he said it doesn't fucking matter. You know what I mean? And he did this whole long speech about race. It didn't like, dude. It doesn't care.
She dodged the question again. They asked Kamala Harris. She said that you weren't black and blah 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 blah. She never said, well, first of all, I am black.
Right.
She never said it.
Never.
Just like in the CNN interview, they asked her a direct question. And
very good at avoiding.
Let's change the subject. She literally said, let's change the subject.
She's good at that. She's very good at that.
Bro, but
Donald Trump just goes straight into the question and just gives you what is on his mind.
Yo, he's too honest to a fault because most people are idiots.
Yeah.
Donald Trump assumes that most people read and most people can see logic, but they don't.
He's a businessman. You know what I mean? He's got that logical mind. You know what I mean? you kind of have to. You know what I mean? Especially on the world stage when you have world leaders, basically. You know, if they see the United States as, I guess, the superpower of the world, right? And they don't see the president as that embodiment of that superpower, well, they're going to do whatever the fuck they want. Like Putin did to Ukraine, the Israeli war and all that shit. I mean, when Trump was in, no one tried shit. You even seen him when he was going to those meetings when they were shaking his hand. They straightened up, get in line, shook his hand all proper and shit. When Biden came in, it was like, they was laughing behind his back.
Because it was sweet. They're like, man, this motherfucker ain't even present.
Man.
Shit was sweet, bro. I mean, look, dog, this shit is a joke, man.
It's still sweet for another half a year for them.
This shit is a joke. It's a serious joke, man. I mean, what else we got here? We got, oh, my God. When she hold on, I got some notes here. When she said good point. Got my notes here. When she talked about Trump just wants to make tax cuts for billionaires, right? I don't think people understand that tax cuts for billionaires are actually a positive thing.
Right. It's kind of
billionaires. So this is what people don't understand. Okay, the way the American economy works is the billionaires supply taxpayers, and taxpayers are the base, right? So if I'm a billionaire, let's say I own Walmart, and I'm supplying taxpayers, my nigga, you're not going to tax me extra,
right?
Because I'm supplying you with the people who are paying taxes,
basically, and I'm paying taxes myself in some kind of way too, also. So I'm
some kind of way, but ultimately, anybody with a half a brain, when it comes to finances, knows that rich people don't really pay taxes anyway.
Right. True.
Taxes are for the common man.
Unfortunately, but yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunate, but I mean, the way it's designed is beautiful because, bro, I mean, America's a meritocracy. The higher you move up, the more you gain. That's what drives American innovation.
Yeah, it's capitalism. That's what it is. I mean, it's the same. I mean, if you start a business, you can't run the business by yourself, so you naturally have to hire more people to make more, run your business. And by hiring more people, your business expands. And when your business expands, you hire more people. I mean, it's
you give more jobs, you give more opportunities. Like that's the way it works.
Right. People don't understand it. If you don't give these billionaire people these tax cuts, they don't want to supply more jobs. I mean, why am I going to make more, pay more people to get less money? It doesn't make any more sense.
Right. That's why when Democrats move in office, you see more companies going overseas. Why the hell would I stay here and get taxed, get the shit taxed out of me when I can go to India and open up a couple call centers and pay them pennies?
Exactly.
Tax. Come on, you crazy.
And the business tax in America is crazy. Like Biden has a tax thing with 27%, and when Trump was in, it was like 15%, 15, 16%. Like that's a hell of it. That's competitive with all the other rest of the countries. But if you're paying 27% in the United States, like I'm going to go to India and pay like what 11%, 12%. Like
Bro, Kamala, have you seen the capital gains tax that she's suggesting?
Well, how much is
for anybody over like I think $100 million? Like it's like a crazy like 44% capital gains tax on unrealized shit. So basically, what your company could be worth, they're gonna tax you on that.
I wouldn't make my company grow.
Even though you haven't sold your shit, they can tax you on what it could be worth.
I wouldn't make my company grow. I'm sorry.
I mean, that's crazy.
I'm sorry.
It's like Trump said, these people are intentionally trying to tank America.
Mm-hmm. And when people don't understand, socialism eventually is the communism.
Of course.
But, that's another story.
And she never denied the fact that her father was a trained Marxist. She never denied it.
And I hope people go look that up if her father was actually a real Marxist.
Hold on real quick. Apollonia Anderson says, he said not one plan. Apollonia, hit the link. You want to call in and tell us how? Because I heard several plans. Apollonia, I'm gonna send you the link. Matter of fact, check Facebook. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go to Facebook.
And one of the key ones was opening back the XL pipeline,
right?
Which will drive down energy prices, which will eventually drive down inflation. But
Apollonia, I'm Miss Apples. I'm about to send you the link. If you got smoke, come on. You got smoke, come on. All right, give me 1 second. All right, Apples, I'm putting the link. What you want? You want Facebook? I'm putting the link in Facebook. Give me a second. It's going to be in the Facebook link. All right. All right. All right, Apples. Hit the link. Oh, she's talking about she's studying. She can't with me tonight. Okay, whatever. You can do it.
5 minutes.
You can do it.
5 minutes.
Ain't no thing. You can do it. But anyway, anyone else on Facebook, if you want to join in, come on. And it's also should be pinned at the top of the YouTube chat. So anybody that wants to come in, come on. We're having this conversation tonight, man. The debate was very interesting. I don't think she's talking about tomorrow. I promise. I'm busy tomorrow. We're going to go see Backyard for the first responders and nurses party at Restaurant 55. That's where we're going tomorrow. So if you want to come have some tequila with me, we can do that. But I'm not going to be on the internet talking shit. Not tomorrow. But yeah. So what else we got? Oh, the January 6th riots. That's what I wanted to ask you about. You go first. What was your take on that?
So my take was that he basically told about the behind the scenes of what actually happened before the riots happened. So he told you about Nancy Pelosi and he told you about the DC mayor, right? So I mean, if he's offering you 10,000 soldiers to come in to help secure just in case anything happens, and you're denying it, I don't know, man. Are you stupid?
I mean, 10,000 soldiers definitely would have done the job.
Definitely, more than done the job. You know what I mean? But then you denied it though, knowing what could transpire, what could happen with all the uprisings previously before the January 6th riots, and you still denied it. So I mean, it's like you were hoping. It was almost like you were hoping for it to happen or something to happen.
Here's my thing though, and I wish Trump would have went in on this a little more, bro. The riots that happened after George Floyd was crazy, bro. Was crazy. You're talking about a couple of $100,000 worth of damage on January 6th compared to billions and billions of dollars in like 20 different cities over the span of a summer. over a heroin addict.
Yeah, he harped on it, but he didn't go in depth with it.
Because he got to tread lightly. I can say it because I don't give a damn. What you niggas gonna do to me? What are you niggas gonna do to me? Call me a coon?
Coon. Well, raccoons trying to get on our back porch. Mama just chased them off with a broom.
Not raccoons, you idiot niggas.
That's my shit. Oh, hold up. My man got smoke for you, Apples.
Okay.
Wow. Got time for foolishness. Woo. But yeah, I'm telling you, man. That
was a crazy debate, man. I swear to God, like I think she's living in La La Land sometimes, man. Like,
she is. But I'm telling you, the strong independent queens are gonna run with all the sound bites, bro. They didn't even watch the debate. They're gonna watch the sound bites tomorrow, and they're gonna swear Kamala ate.
Right.
Kamala ate. She ate all day on Trump. Ooh, did you see that girl? Blah, 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 blah. We can kill our babies in peace now. I'm telling you, bro, it's ridiculous.
It's crazy. And then how she's trying to, like, with Israel and Palestine, how she's trying to play the fence and shit now. Like,
yeah, your husband's an Israeli. Which ain't nothing wrong. Look, bro, I ain't got no problem with Israel either. If Israel wants to go and smoke everybody in Palestine tomorrow, I don't care. However, if Palestine smokes everybody in Israel, I don't care about that either.
Me either.
May the best country win.
It's not our problem.
It's not our problem, bro.
I hate to say it's not our problem. Neither is Ukraine and Russia. Really, not our really problem. Even though, like you said, Putin probably wouldn't win in the Ukraine if Trump was there. You know what I mean? He probably would have did it because he probably would say, don't do that shit. Because if you do it, I'm going to have to do something, and it's going to be ruin our relationship as friends or whatever relationship they have in the background. You know what I mean? So
bro, the bottom line is Trump probably told them niggas on some shit off the record, like, bro, I can do this and I can do that, man. So what you want to do?
Right, basically, like, don't try it. Don't try it. I mean, here's the thing, right? If you're friends with all these other countries that want to kill you, and they all of a sudden you break an olive branch with them, they say, all right, maybe we can, kind of, ease tensions a little bit. What is the harm in that? Like, what is the real harm in that? You know what I mean? I just don't understand it. But you want to take this hardline stance in all these countries, but now they all want to kill us again.
Yeah. I mean, and the point he made with NATO, the point he made with NATO drove it home. And I know we get boring people because we're talking about foreign policy. That's something that niggas don't, look into. But NATO is very important in this because what Trump said about NATO was key, which makes him a great leader. The point he made about NATO, basically saying, I'm not going to let you people continue to extort us and make us pay for your protection when you're not paying up either.
Right.
We're giving up all the money. We're giving up all the troops. We're giving up all the protection. And you guys are just sitting back laughing, watching.
You're right there. You're right there.
Right. You're right there. They're right next to you. And we're doing all the work. Really, we don't even need to be in this shit.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, pay up, nigga. Pay up. What the fuck?
Like, we don't need to be in this, bro. Pay us our money and we'll protect you.
Right.
But if you're not paying us no money, what are we paying? What are we in this for?
And if you look, there's a graph that showed us how much we were paying into NATO. Like, it's like double everybody's.
Ridiculous, dog. It's ridiculous. Right. And to be honest with you, man, there's a guy that I follow. Actually, he's running for Senate in Minnesota named Royce White. Mm-hmm. Royce White made a great point on this podcast I was watching. He was basically saying, as a country, we've never really put Great Britain in check. Like, if he could put his finger on it, all of this is from Great Britain. All this Israel shit, all this NATO shit. Great Britain realized that we were thugs and we was bullies and we had the sauce. So they basically just manipulated us into fighting all their shit.
That's a good point.
They don't have to do anything, bro.
World War I and II.
We got our independence from Great Britain and they just say, okay, all right, y'all got your independence. And they just manipulate us into everything they into.
Supposedly, we got our independence.
I mean, I think we're independent, but at the same time, you still, I mean, America is open to
mercenaries. We're mercenaries.
But to espionage.
Yeah.
With all the immigrant, like, think about 75% of the white people that live in America aren't even original Americans.
That's true.
Now, I'm not saying that they're not loyal Americans, most of them, but at the same time, when you have all these people who ain't original, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're open to all type of shit.
True. You got too many backgrounds here.
Yeah, you got too much shit going on, bro. It's not enough Smith, Williams, Brooks, Johnson, Jackson. Those are original Americans.
That's true.
When you got all these people, and no disrespect to the people that have vowels at the end of their last name, no disrespect, but I'm just speaking strategically here. America let way too many people in from the jump.
Yeah. And sometimes why?
And there's no, yeah. and there's a lot of disloyalty off in the ranks. You don't know who's who. You got all type of communists and all type of, like, it's crazy. It's
but
crazy.
Also, that kind of, taking all the, when we was first growing up, right, they used to make us pledge allegiance to the flag and all that shit when we was growing up. They kind of also played this part also in the patriotism of America, removing that from the schools. I'm not saying it was good or bad, but I'm just saying that played its part in it. You know what I mean?
Bro, if I had my way, and like I said, Trump's a better man than me. If I had my way, I would instill Project 2025. I would make that shit the law.
Oh, that reminds me. That speaking of Project 2025, he's nationally said it to everybody, so people can stop saying he's a part of this shit. He just said he has absolutely nothing to do with the damn shit. I mean,
he said it though. He been said it.
True, but now he said it on a national debate stage where everybody can hear him say, "I have nothing to do with it. I don't even want to read it."
You know what's crazy? You know how Kamala Harris was coached up for this debate?
Mm-hmm.
He denied the shit 80 times, and she still kept bringing it up.
Right, she did.
With his Project 2025, I'm telling you, it's all for sound bites, dog. It's all for sound bites. They're gonna clip up everything she said on CNBC and be like, Kamala Harris dogged Trump last night. Look at her. Blah, 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 blah. That's all they're gonna do, bro. I'm telling you, that's what they're gonna do. And they know the average person doesn't have the attention span to watch this shit.
The whole thing and get the context of what people are saying. That's the problem, man. He like I said, he publicly, nationally denounced Project 2025 and said he doesn't even want to fucking read the damn shit. So now all these liberals who say that he's a threat to democracy, he's gonna enact 2025 and all that. You can't say that shit anymore. You can't say because he just said he doesn't even want to fucking read this damn shit. Like, come on, man.
I mean, the crazy thing is, though, Project 2025 is not even a threat to democracy.
It's not. There's no such thing as democracy in this fucking country anyway. But whatever.
Right, this is a constitutional republic, but that's a conversation that's going to go over most people's heads.
And it took government out of high schools and junior highs. Just FYI too, but whatever.
They took a lot. They took a lot of shit out. They took fucking working with your hands. They took home ec out. They took all that shit out.
Yeah, damn. And they made sure we were dumb as a motherfucker or smart to fail.
It's a shit show, yo. But hey, listen, man. They're gonna. I got to do this one more time, and then I'll take your final thoughts, man. Before they call us coons, man.
Coons. Well, raccoons trying to get on our back porch. Mama just chased them off with a broom.
Not raccoons, you idiot. Niggas.
Niggas.
I'll take your final words, man.
I'm just saying, go back and watch the debate. Really analyze what both candidates are saying. Look up what both candidates have did over their both incumbencies over their presidencies or their vice presidencies and see and make up your own mind. I'm just saying there are more facts spoken on one side than the other, not just, I guess, talking points. That's all. Trump 2024.
Facts. I mean, all I got is like, look, I make it simple, man. She claims she's gonna do this. She's gonna give tax breaks to middle class, give 50,000 tax breaks to small businesses. She claims that she's gonna tax the rich. She claims that she's gonna look into your dreams and desires.
Right, no bullshit. I can see your future.
She claims that she's going to do all of this stuff. But like Trump said, why didn't she do it? Why didn't she do it? Why doesn't she do it right now?
Right.
Why doesn't she do it tomorrow?
She can.
The answer is she can't, she won't, and she will not. So On that note, for myself, King Kofi, and the rest of the crew here at Trippin' Ain't Easy TV, peace out. Catch you on the next one.